Welcome to the Art of the Drink video podcast. My name is Anthony Caparelli. This week we're sitting in on a master bourbon tasting class in the third and last part of our special AOTD On the Road series from our visit to the Maker's Mark Distillery in Loretto, Kentucky. We have the privilege of talking with Dave Pickerell, the master distiller for Maker's Mark. How are you, Dave?
Good, thanks. It's good to have you here today.
Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it. And you're going to take us through a bourbon tasting, is that right?
That's right. We at Maker's Mark avoid using descriptors of what you taste, and instead we aim at where you taste. We're all going to taste what we associate as sweet in the same place, right at the tip of your tongue. Mm-hmm. Bitters all the way at the back of your mouth, and sours all along the edges. And so if I say, when you taste this, you're going to feel it on your palate in this location, that location, and this, you will. And it's
great.
And the other thing is that it removes the issue of good or bad or better or worse. That's not my job to tell you what you like. That's your job. Keeping in mind that in the production of Maker's Mark, we've got one major objective, and that's get rid of bitter taste. Okay, everything that we do is oriented around getting rid of bitter taste. All right, so we're going to start with White Dog, and that's straight off the still. Okay, it hasn't hit the barrel yet. That's why it's clear. We did a little experiment. I play around quite a bit with various things because I want to learn more about it. We actually took some White Dog one day, put it in a barrel, rolled it 100 yards, dumped it back out, and then put it in a tasting glass along with some unbarreled White Dog, and everybody could tell the difference. It had already picked up color.
Really?
Just 100 yards, and it was visual to the eye that it picked up color already. Okay, so when we nose, the first thing we're going to do, it's a little bit different. With wine and lower proof spirits, you can really stick your nose in and take a big sniff. Okay, if you do that with higher proof spirits, you're going to blow so much alcohol up your nose that you're going to deaden some of your sensors.
Okay.
Okay, so when we nose today, we're going to swirl it around, lay it under your nose, and breathe in through your mouth.
Really?
Okay, when you try that, it pulls in less alcohol, but gives you all the nuance of the nose and taste anyway.
So I'm breathing in through my mouth,
right.
Not my nose. Oh, look at that. That's unbelievable.
Okay. So I want you to taste this now. Just swirl it around, put some in your mouth, swish it around really well, spit it out, breathe in through your mouth, and then ask yourself, where am I feeling this taste on my palate? Let me describe for you where I think you're going to taste, and you just tell me yay or nay.
Okay.
This taste is going to be all along the sides of your tongue, front to rear, okay?
Absolutely
All
right.
It's like a vice grip on the sides of your tongue. That's the grainy harshness.
And it's there after a few seconds. Yeah, it stays. Yeah.
And even somewhat intensifies in certain areas, towards the front. Now, we don't have to worry about that. That we actually have a name for that. We call that hog tracks. And the good news is that goes away. If we mature our product right, all of that goes away. So I don't even have to worry about that part of the taste profile. Okay? Now, ignore that piece for a minute and search around on the top of your palate. Okay? About mid-palate, there's a faint taste.
Yes.
Okay? It's much, much less defined, but it's certainly mid-palate. Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, about 10% of the people get a little pinprick of taste someplace on their palate. I want to know, do you have one?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Right at the tip of my tongue.
You are one of those 10%ers.
Really?
Only about 10% of the people get it, and those are the people that we look for to put on our tasting panel.
Well, I'm available.
Great. So that's where the White Dog taste is. Now, so I said I don't worry about the stuff on the sides. Okay. And that pinprick is going to go away. So all I'm really worried about in the taste that I'm going to manage over the maturation lifetime of Maker's Mark is that faint taste at the center of your tongue.
And this is the art of making bourbon, is managing that taste.
That's the way we see it. Now, what I've put up here next is 2-year-old. Now, remember I said it stays on top of the warehouse for 3 years. But there's something magic about 2-year-old because at this stage the government says we can call it straight Kentucky bourbon.
All right.
Okay? So at 2 years it's legal. Okay? That's all it is. It's just legal. So what I want you to do again is to nose that the same way.
And swirling it is helping to release the aromas.
It volatilizes it, yes.
Okay.
So that you get a little bit better nose. Totally different nose.
Yeah, completely
right?
different.
Yeah, we're out of the cornfield now. There's some barrel essence. It's not a big, powerful nose right now. It's kind of flat and uninspiring, but certainly different. Okay, then go ahead and taste. And again, we're looking for where the taste is. Okay, now, Let me describe where I think you taste, and then you tell me whether I got it right or not. Okay, a lot of that sourness is gone, but not completely. There's 1 finger width of sourness left on the sides of your tongue, right on the corners.
How do you know the size? It's unbelievable.
Because I've tasted hundreds of samples, and they're all the same.
He's exactly right.
Okay, and the second thing is that pinprick is gone on the tip of your tongue, and on top of your palate. That's where the majority of the taste is now.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe scoots just a little bit farther forward than center, but pretty much still about the same place. So we think of how the taste has moved from the white dog to the 2-year-old is that it rolls off the side and onto the top.
Okay.
Okay. So we're moving it in the right direction. So we take that fully matured now, and we'll do the same thing. Nose it and taste it.
Now this fully matured, this is Maker's Mark that I would buy.
You'd buy that right off the shelf.
Okay.
And the taste is drawn all the way up to the tip of your tongue. Okay? There's nothing on the sides. Some people actually will taste it on the inside of their lips and in the top of their palate. As you let the taste develop, the thing that's even more important than where it started is where it finishes. It's still up at the front of your palate.
That's the thing that's unbelievable is how long you can actually feel this in your mouth and where it actually hit.
Right. And this is the penultimate. This is fully mature. The taste is at the tip of your tongue. It stays at the front of your palate. It never runs to the back of your mouth.
I had nothing on the inside of my bottom lip until this, and now I can clearly feel. That's unbelievable.
So I've got some here I've labeled over mature. Now what I want you to do is nose that again.
I can see that it even looks darker.
It's a little darker. It's a little darker. But now go ahead and taste that. It's all the way back at the corners and sides of your tongue. Get the picture of an old ABA free throw line, kind of a trapezoidal shape. Okay, there's a little circuit. There's a little circle that's about 1/4 to 1/2 inch back from the tip of your tongue, and then it runs diagonally all the way back to the back corners. That's gotten bitter, and that's not Maker's Mark taste anymore.
Okay.
Okay, so for us, that's past mature.
Now this is kind of a radical concept because I think most people would assume, like you said, older's better.
Right, and that's just not our position. Older is not necessarily better. It's just older. You will never find an age statement on a bottle of Maker's Mark because we don't bottle to age. We bottle to taste. I had a friend that challenged me one time. He goes, now wait, are you telling me if I want to have a Maker's and Coke that it's not going to be any good? And I said, well, no. And he said, well, if I'm going to have a bourbon and Coke anyway, will a Maker's and Coke be better? And I said, well, probably. And he said, then get off my back and serve me a Maker's Mark and Coke. And it really changed my whole thinking process about cocktails. There are a lot of people that like bourbon neat or on the rocks or with water, but there are a lot of people that want a good cocktail. And if they want a good cocktail, then by golly, we ought to encourage them to have a good bourbon cocktail. One of the things that Mr. Samuels did when he created Maker's Mark is he really created the whole concept of bourbon can taste good. And I would say that any bourbon that's out there on the market today tastes better than every bourbon tasted before Mr. Samuels. I would say that categorically.
That is quite a contribution.
I think it's a well-deserved one for Mr. Samuels. I think that's probably the best thing that he did for the world was say it's okay for bourbon to taste good.
Well, Maker's Mark certainly does, and I know that is due in large part to you and the rest of the folks here.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your confidence.
If you want more information on the art of making drinks, visit us on the web at artofthedrink.com.
All right, and cut it.
Cut. That was fantastic, and we're going to edit out all of my nonsense.